network. That's a lot to say. Essentially what that is TEA has 9 technical assistance grants for a variety of things for students. One's for autism, one's for students with multiple support needs, and I am fortunate enough to get to help manage the on transition. A little bit about me. I taught life skills for about 10 years at the high school level before switching over and becoming a transition specialist. After that, I got this job. I'm really, really loving it. I like this field that I'm in. I think God always had like a plan for me. I'm also an individual with a disability. I have Tourette's. And so if you see me making weird things, I'm not having a seizure. I think we're all good. I have been asked if I have the fun kind of Tourette's where you scream out curse words. I do not. I also don't think that's very fun, but I don't have that kind, so no worries, no censoring. I have a daughter with autism. She is our firstborn, and she is in 4th grade right now in College Station ISD, and we have been so blessed at her campus. They have gone along with all of my crazy ideas of having her lead her art meetings ever since she was in kindergarten, and so they have supported that, and I'm so sad that she is now going to have to leave 4th grade and go to a different campus, but that's okay. Transitions are hard. So, what I am going to be chatting with you guys about is summer. How many of y'all are dreading summer? Because as a parent, I am dreading summer. I love having my babies at home. I love them being there. I do not like having to plan their days out to the minute because otherwise chaos ensues. I not only have Nolan, who is my 11-year-old with autism. I have Peyton. She is our 9-year-old. And I have David, who is 5 and all boy. All boy. Jen has met David, I believe, and she is shaking her head like, oh yeah, he's all boy. So, I dread summers for the unstructured fact of summer. So I am very much in that, what can we do? How can we plan things out? What does that look like? Before we start, I do want to know kind of age ranges that I am kind of talking to. How many of you have elementary students? Elementary age students? Majority? What about middle school? Okay. High school? Soon to be high school? Little babies. Got babies. Okay. So like 0 to 4. Got babies. All right. So we have the wide range here. So we're going to be chatting about all the things. So here we go. We're going to talk about I'm just going to go over some brief terms that I'm going to be using throughout because I want to make sure that we all understand and talking about the same language. I know in special education, sometimes we use a lot of acronyms. So hopefully I'm not using acronyms, but just so that we're on the same page. We're going to talk about summer slide. We're going to try to give some tips on how to avoid regression over the summer and what that looks like losing those skills that they have worked so hard to gain over the last 9 months, because that's also a big fear. I'm going to give you some practical tips that you can do, that you can use, and then we're going to close it out. I have purposely left time for questions and discussion. I don't like just talking to people. I have 3 kids. I'm used to being interrupted, especially when I'm on the phone. So please just shout out your questions. I'm okay with that. I will repeat your question so that your friends online can hear, but I also want to make sure. Also, something that's going to be really hard for me is I am confined to the podium because we're online. So I'm going to attempt to not move, but if I do, Amy's going to say over there. So some of the things that we are going to be talking about are choice making and decision making. That can look different, but in terms of tonight, what that's going to mean is providing a structured choice for your child. So not like 3 million. I know that if you came to an 80-day session that she did a tie, they did a great conversation about dignity of risk, making choices. Love that. And so that's kind of where we're leaning into it. Goal setting. We're going to talk about the process of taking those active steps. I think we take a lot of things for granted, and one of those is assuming that our kids know how to make a goal. Like, okay, what's your goal? I'm going to clean my room. Okay, well, what are the steps that you have to do to get there? Where we're leaving out those beginning parts of breaking that down and scaffolding it. We're going to talk about self-awareness, self-determination, and self-advocacy. So those all kind of go together, but as we go through, we're going to talk about what those mean individually. So how many of these happen over summer in your house? They might be happening now, right? Staying up late, sleeping in, having unplanned trips to a grocery store because we ran out of toilet paper, because now everybody's home. Or they're eating you out of the house at home because everybody's home. And they act like they are starved feral children. Or I might be projecting that, I don't know. But my children act like they have to eat every 10 minutes. Unstructured free time, and this last one, this increase of screen time. I am not a shamer. I have a meeting. Here's your iPad. Please go and do that. So let's talk about some things that, yes, that's the reality, and we're going to do that. But let's talk about some other things that they might be able to do to help with that. So summer regression. How many of you guys have had your kids come home? They're starting school off, and they get there, and you're like, oh man, they have all these awesome new skills that they spent all year learning, and then they get to you, and then by the end of the summer, you're like, all of those skills went away. They all went away, whether that's an academic skill or a functional skill. Those are things. I know one of the things that we worked on with my daughter was her social skills. She is, I tell a lot of stories about Madeline, so you're going to have to bear with me. She has a really hard time opening up to people. She will talk to any adult, but whenever it's kids, she has a really hard time with that. We always laugh because we took a cruise with our family, and she was down at the pool, and I was up saving the seats, because if you've ever been on a cruise, you have to save all the chairs. If you haven't, please know you have to save all the chairs. And I looked down, and my daughter is talking to a elderly man holding a margarita, tattoos everywhere, and a cigarette. And I'm sitting there like, where is my husband? And why is my 10-year-old daughter talking to this man in the pool in this? And my husband is sitting there laughing because these people are like, whose child is this? And where does she belong to? And I'm like, of course she would talk to the man that just, that's who she's going to talk to, not the 10 kids that are over here. But anyways, that's my daughter, right? She's going to talk to anybody. So we have really worked on socialization and having appropriate conversations with her peers, going up and starting those conversations, and she does so well during the school year because that's built in, where there's recess, there's PE, there's choir, all the things. And then she gets home and she kind of just wants to stay on her iPad or not interact or only interact with mom and dad or siblings. So we have to really schedule that out. We have to say, like, okay, it is time for outside time. You're going to go ride your rollerblades or sit in the front yard and wait for somebody to come by. But we have to force that. It's not comfortable and it's hard, but we know that she's going to regress on her social skills, and it's going to take her 2 months to get back into the swing of talking to people. And so those are things that we want to work on. We also have to really keep on her with her reading, making sure that she is doing some kind of reading every day. Otherwise, that's not going to look pretty in the fall. What are some skills that you have found that your kiddos have just kind of seemed to slide on? Hygiene. Oh, I wish I could help you because getting my daughter to brush her teeth is like, no, I can't. Yeah. Yeah, we jumped in the pool, that was their bath. We're good, right? Yeah? No. So, some things that we're going to talk about are schedules, maybe some rewards, some charts. You said he's 11, and so really figuring out what that motivator is to keep him doing that. What I have found is giving my daughter choices of which scented deodorant does she want to put on today? Do you want to use the stick or do you want to use the spray? Because some days it just matters that way. Flavor of toothpaste. Which flavor of toothpaste do you want to use today? We have 5. We have bubble gum, we have mint, we have charcoal. That was from her nephew. She does not like it, but we have to have it on the counter anyways. So like eating choices in that, so that maybe it makes it a little bit more of a they say choice is something that you can do. What are some other skills that you're worried about your kids regressing on?
Turn taking.
Turn taking. That's a fun one. You have an only child too, right? No. So well, you might as well be an only child. There's like a 7-year gap. Yeah. Okay, so turn taking. So what are some things that we can do for turn taking? You can schedule play dates. Those are things you can schedule time for them to have with other people. In our house, we use puzzles. As turn taking, like, okay, you found my daughter loves puzzles. Like, you found these, so now you got this side of the edge. It's my turn to find an edge, because she wants to find all the edges and none of the middle pieces. And so we have to take turns finding the edges. Video games are a really great one for my son with turn taking. He has a really hard time turn taking. He gets really upset whenever his 30 minutes is up. Alexa has become the ultimate timer. I swear we bought 4 Alexas just for her to tell us when 30 minutes is up. That's all she does. She just sets off alarms at random times during the day. But that's something that we have used just because it's an auditory thing of building in. Okay, you have 10 minutes. When that timer goes off, it's your sister's turn. What my kids at their age right now really like doing is they then get to set the timer. And Alexa, set a 10-minute timer. I'm sorry, they need your phone so long. But them getting to say that timer, I don't know why, that the novelty of it hasn't run out yet. And so that's something that they can do. Having them set the time for, okay, it's their turn, now it's my turn. Their turn, now it's my turn. We do that with TV shows, we do that with iPad, with the Switch, with all the things. That's something that we do. So, here's, yeah. Board games?
I know, like, we try to play board games every day, just to have that interaction.
I love board games. My kids always want to play it, like whenever I'm starting the meeting, but we have found that there is, dang, I wish I would have remembered. There's a brand that it's cooperative board games, so nobody wins or loses. It is strictly based, and it's for younger kids, but they're strategy games almost. Think of Candyland, but everybody's trying to get to the same thing together as a team. Those have worked really well in our family because we get upset when we are behind. We get really excited whenever we have sore losers in our house, and we're still working on that skill. But the cooperative games are really good ones that we like. Yeah, there's like a treasure hunt one. There's a chicken quiz one. They're really cool games. I enjoy them. But so do my kids, and nobody gets upset because nobody loses. So that's a good way too for taking turns. Schedules are hard during the summer. How many of you have a schedule during the summer for your kids? You start it, yeah, we all start out with the schedule. We're going to do 10 minutes of this, and it's all pretty, and then by the end of it, you want to throw it in the fireplace, even though it's 110 degrees outside. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, pretty schedules. So one of the things that we like to do is we like to build in mandatory activities where that keeps us on schedule. My kids still take swim lessons because it's a mandatory, like it's a set thing that's going to get us all out of the house, and it's at a set time. That could be like Thursdays might be your grocery days, but like setting up a schedule of mandatory things so that even if things in between get a little wonky, you're like, oh, well, this is when we're going to go do this, or this is when we go to the park, or this is when we do this. For my family, it works with paid things because then I make myself do it because I pay for it, so I'm not take my kids to it. But there are tons of free things around our local community. There's lots of outside areas that you can go to, splash pads that are open. Our kids love splash pads. I feel like there's one in almost every neighborhood at this point. So those are things. How many of you love chores at your house? You love chores. Yeah.
My 4-year-old does chores.
Okay, yes, perfect. So my kids want to do all the chores that I don't want them to do. And so I have to like, Mommy, I want to vacuum. Oh, God. Or I want to put away dishes and it's all glass at the time. Like it's.
Why not clean the toilet?
Let them do, toilets were my favorite. Toilets were my favorite to clean. I would pick a toilet any day of the week. I don't know why, but I think it's because I had to, like, once it was done, nobody else should do anything else. I don't know why, but yeah. So let them do the toilets, right? One thing that we found is, I grew up doing the same chore every time. My kids will fight over which chores they get to do because their sister gets to do this chore, but I don't want to do this chore. And so changing up the chores or having times, again, we use Alexa for that. Okay, everybody's going to get up for 15 minutes and you're going to do this, this, or this. And it's just 15 minutes. And so they don't feel like it's the end of the world most of the time. But that helps. And so there are lots of resources online of age-appropriate chore tasks for kids. Whether that is picking up their toys or making their bed or taking the laundry just to the laundry room, putting quarters in the laundry mat, or using the vending machine to get the soap out of the laundry mat. Those are all things that kids can do that can help to give them that sense of autonomy and also help you out. It might take a little bit longer, but those are things that they can do. So chores are a great way to help keep on schedule and having a set time maybe in the morning and then right before bed or something, getting things cleaned up. Community outings we kind of talked about. Lessons. Most schools, if you have a device at your home, will say, hey, their subscription to Starfall or Reading A to Z or one of those things. If they're doing that in their schools, most of the time their login, so check with the teacher, will stay good through the summer. And so my kids love Starfall. I don't know what kind of addiction that game has, but Starfall for them is the best thing. They're all in elementary school. Even my son who's in kindergarten does Starfall. But it's a subscription, but every year the teachers have sent home all of their login information so they can use it over the summer. So contact your kids' teachers and see if that's something that is available that they can do. If you have that available, it's a free resource that if they are going to have that screen time, that it can at least be educational, right? And fun for them and something that they're used to. So there's not going to be a lot of reteaching on your end or having to learn a new thing on your end. Therapy sessions are good. We have equine therapy. If they receive any kind of ABA therapy, physical therapy, those are things that can keep you on track, on schedule, and making sure that you keep those things up during the summer. Brain breaks, leisure time, and then screen time. So if you can schedule all this out again, having something pretty at the beginning of the summer and then it turns into a dumpster fire at the end, that sometimes happens, but you have something that you can always revert back to on those days of chaos. And then what we like to do also is making sure that we have a designated work time and a designated break time, and trying not to intermix those. I like to give credit to that to my mom. She would always, at Sam's or Costco, how you could buy those big workbooks that are like kindergarten, first grade, second grade. She bought those every summer, and it used to make me so mad. I was like, why am I having to do this? I now make my children do that. They have to do 2 pages of it, and then they get a break time. If that 2 pages takes them 30 minutes, then it takes them 30 minutes. But they know that it's 2 pages, and I don't hound them about it. It's just like, okay, you take however long you want, and then we're going to go on to the next thing. But it helps them because it's never like, hey, it's 4 pages today, or it's this many pages today. It's always 2. It's just, and they get to pick. It could be front of the book, back of the book. It could be middle of the book. Whatever activities they want to do in that book, I don't care. But it just keeps them going. So I don't make them go in order. That goes into that choice making of they're doing an activity I want them to do, but they get to have choice in what they're doing with it. And then setting expectations. Kind of just talked about that as far as it's 2 pages, or using a timer and saying it's 10 minutes, it's 15 minutes. But making sure they know that ahead of time. What's really hard on my end as a parent is not changing the expectation because I get upset. Or if they do something while they're doing it, say they're having to clean their room and they get a reward at the end of it, and they get something that they want, but they hit their brother while they were cleaning their room. And then, but they cleaned their room and they still want the thing that they were told that they would get because they cleaned the room. I still have to give them the thing that they were going to get, which is really hard for my brain to comprehend, but I know that fundamentally I have to do that, so I make myself. My husband is another beast on that, but we are working. It is not 100%, but that's something I want to make sure that y'all know, because summertime can be really hard, especially whenever your kids are with you 24/7. Is if you say, if you clean your room, I'm going to give you this, or if you work for 10 minutes, you get this at the end. Even if they do something that just like hurts you in the middle of that, but if they do it, give them their reward. And then have that discussion about that. You know, I'm not saying let them not do it, but then they're not going to do any of the work. Or they're not going to do what you want them to do later if that reward is like, no. You know, you didn't give it to me last time, so I'm not going to do it this time. So that's something to really keep in mind is set expectations for them, but also make sure that you hold those expectations and the aftermath of it. Any questions over that one? Okay.
So how do you address the hitting in the midst of it?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is what we have found, because a lot of times they want the screen time afterwards, and one of the consequences we have in our house is if you put your hands on somebody else, then you lose screen time that day. We have a hard issue with keeping our hands to ourselves with our young kids. Like, that's a really hard thing for my kids. I'm okay with like a little bit of, you know, we're like, shove them, yeah, we got an issue. But screen, like, that is the consequence, because that's the highest reward for them, and we're really focusing on that skill. And so, it's, if you clean your room, we give the 2 rewards, they might have to go to the second one. Like, if they did something that we didn't like, so I always have 2 things that they get to pick from. Well, if they do something that I address it that way. Will you still get this, but you're not going to get this one?
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. That might not be like ethically okay. I don't know. That's what we do in my house. But that's the only way that we have found. And it's only with screen time, and it's only like, that is the punishment. We don't take away screen time for anything else in our house. The only thing that they get screen time taken away from is putting their hands on somebody else. We will find other things for talking back or being rude or slamming a door or something like that. But screen time and putting hands, those are attached to each other. And so they know that, we know that, and we have to catch ourselves sometimes as parents of like, oh, we want to take away the screen time, but they didn't put their hand on somebody, so we have to think of something else. But that helps us and it helps them too. So maybe that would work for your family of like having the big ones, like the big things that you're working on, like that's what gets taken away.
So for cleaning their room, though, they get 2 rewards, is what you're saying. If
They get to pick.
Oh, they get to pick.
Get to pick.
Okay.
Yes.
Otherwise, you pick which reward's going to be.
Well, they choose to lose the reward. If they put their hands on somebody else, that was their decision, and that was a bad consequence for them.
Oh, so you're saying one of them is always a consistent reward of screen time, and then there's a second one for them to choose. Okay.
In our house, yes, because screen time is such a high motivator.
Right. That makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
Sorry for the question.
Okay, so here are some fun ideas to help, especially with our younger kids, but I'm not going to lie, like sensory things are my favorite too. I just like to put my hands in some Porties, let me tell you. Don't go down that. Okay, so sensory bins. Those are things that are really good. If you have younger kids, one of the things that I learned in the classroom from an OT, and I wish I remember who it was, instead of sand, using Cheerios. Putting Cheerios in a bag and using a rolling pin has the same consistency, but that way if the kid eats it, they're not eating sand, they're eating crushed Oreos. or not Oreos, Cheerios. Cheerios. I guess you could have used Oreos. I could make that a real fun sensor then. So Cheerios, same consistency as sand. We do a lot of just putting things in a bathtub. Bathtub with water in it, and then put stuff, boats, any of the things. The big one, the cheap $10 inflatable pools at Walmart. We probably go through 4 a summer, just because my kids love just being in the water. And it helps give us a break. And they're shallow. Those are things that we use. Board games, we talk about that. Any kind of board game that your family loves. Again, we like the cooperative board games where there's not too much science experiments are real fun. My daughters love the kids. If you're sleeping on TJ Maxx and Ross, in their back toy section, they always have a whole row of educational things that have volcano making kits and all the things that are like $5. And so we kind of stock up on those during the summer. Pottery making, weird crystal things that come on. My kids love science experiments. Then we have a lot of stuff around the house that we have to figure out how to throw away without them knowing, but make do. But those are fun. There's a lot of things that you can do around your house that you already have with things. And then of course screen time. I'm never going to be the parent or the educator that says like, no screen time. Dude, it's just a reality at this point. I'm sorry. Yeah, anything else that y'all like to do during the summer that we haven't kind of chatted about? Yeah.
On the weekends, my kids say, oh, it's Friday, it's Saturday, we get to stay up late.
Weekends are up, good luck.
And my thing is, oh, well, if you wanna stay up late, then, we either have to run or walk a mile.
There you go. Hey, if that's your high motivator, then
They're gonna get tired either way, so that's my thing.
there you go. So one of the things that my kids love, and looking back, like I love this too, doing this with my brother and sister, and we had one of those old like pull-out couches, like with a big mattress. We would fold my brother up in them. But anyways, so my kids love sleeping in the living room with each other. They hate each other 90% of the time, but if it is Friday or Saturday, they want to sleep with each other on a couch in the living room. Everybody gets their own little spot. And so they love doing that on weekends. During the summer, it happens a little bit more, but I do like the Friday night thing. The Friday night thing. But yes, our kids love that. That's a great thing. Keeping kind of that, like, it's still the weekend, right? Like, I still want to have fun on the weekend. What else? He says summers are hard down here because you can't do anything after 8:30 in the morning outside because it's hot. It's hot. Agreed. Splash pads. No. And you gotta get there. You gotta. The water was hot. Yeah. It's hard. How many of y'all know about the Kids Bowl free in College Station? How many of y'all have signed up for it? Okay. So, if you don't know, the central, what is it called?
Grand Station?
Grand Station, I've lived here my whole life, and it has been a roller skating rink and all the things. Okay, so Grand Central Station, they have a Kids Bowl free, and you just go to their site, it literally is free. Like, you don't have to sign up for, you sign up and then they send you the coupons every single week. Every week, and your kid gets every single day, from this time to this time, it's Kids Bowl free, and you put the parents on there, your kids get to bowl 2 games. The only thing you pay for is the shoes, but it's an inside activity, and it is great fun. So if you haven't looked, that's a great option. It is on the bus route too, which is really nice, so that if you have transportation problems, or maybe one car and somebody's working, that's something that is a really good thing. It's right there on the bus. Yeah? He says that on the website they have extra discounts as well. Not just for bowling, but like the arcade and the games and things like that. And you know what? My kids at this point still take them to the arcade, just let them sit on the motorcycles, and they think that they're racing. Like, they're still at the age where that's cool. And so just take taking them there and letting them do that and not spending any money. Yes,
We use the kids bowl free even when we're on vacation. Like,
she says she uses it even on vacation. You can use them in other places?
yeah, there's a whole list of all of the places that serve kids bowl free. You just have to, there's something you have to do so that the
There's an app.
location is changed on that week's coupon or whatever it is. But like when we have to go see like family and stuff, you know, like obligations. And so for those, we need to do stuff to get out of grandma's house,
There you go.
you know, so
Yes.
it's a great one.
Yes, you do. Okay, so what she said for those online, that the Kids Bowl Free that we've been talking about, apparently that's like a nationwide thing. There's different locations. So if you're on vacation, you can still use that. So that's awesome. I did not know that. Amy, you have your hands raised?
I was just gonna say, it's not updated yet, but if you go to the Facets website, there's a calendar, and every summer I put like all the library events and just any kind of College Station events, pools, the drive-in movie that Brian usually does. I'll put all that stuff on there.
Movies After Dark or something.
Yeah.
At Wolf Pen Creek, if you haven't, it's After Dark. It's a little bit cooler, but at Wolf Pen, they'll do movies every single week. Like you go and you take your blankets and you just chill. And I don't think there's a cost to that one. I'd have to check. I don't remember, but they do like movies in the park is what it's called. George Bush Library a lot of times, something every month they'll have something free, and so that's really cool. If you have any kids who love history, if you have not been to the Corps of Cadets Museum Center on A&M's campus, you are sleeping on that. They have a room, it's called the Sanders Gun Room, guns from like back to the 1800s. And my son thinks it's the coolest thing to just go and look at all the things. But they have really cool, different, I'm losing the word. Exhibits, there it is, exhibits, and it's free. You can go, it's inside, it's free. You get to learn about a lot of cool things. They even do tours. If you ask, they will take you around and tell you what everything is. So that's something that's free and inside to do. The Children's Museum, there's a lot of things that are inside whenever it does get hot. If you want to go and drive to Waco, take a day trip, the museum that's there is really cool. That has different exhibits. My son went once. On the second floor, it's all interactive. You can make huge bubbles, you can do magnets, you can do puzzles and they have like a sound room. The sound room is way too much for me. I got overstimulated because it's like all the things, but my kids loved it. And so that's something that's in Waco, but that is there. So those are all really fun things you can do. I'm going to put in a little plug for camps, kind of like Amy was saying. I told you at the beginning that I have Tourette's. That was a really hard thing for me growing up. I didn't know anybody else who had Tourette's. When I was getting my master's at A&M, I got to, one of my like thesis project was making a toolkit for teachers on how to work with kids who have Tourette's. I got to go to a camp, and it was called Camp Twitch and Shout. Everybody laugh. That is literally what it's called. Camp Twitch and Shout. In Georgia. I went and I was a counselor. That was the first time that I had ever been around anyone else with Tourette's. When I was 21 years old. And it was the craziest thing for me because I get emotional talking about it because if I had known somebody else or if I had been introduced to somebody else who had that, I would have had that connection. And so camps are scary and they can be scary, especially overnight camps. I'm all for the inclusion camps, having your kids go to any camp. Disability specific camps, there's something special about them for your kids because it puts them around somebody else who's like them. So don't sleep on those. Yeah, okay. All right, so schedules. Let your kids make their schedules. Let them, what do they want to do? How do they want to start out your day? Maybe you give them 10 things that they want to accomplish. Maybe they don't want to do chores to like first thing in the morning. Maybe they want to do it after lunch, or maybe they want to do it at this time. Give them 5 to 10 activities that you want them to do and let them order them. Let them tell you when they want to do them. That would help. That gives them kind of the choice of when they do them. You can do checklists. The If you go online, the PowerPoint is on there. These are active links. Texas Fed Support is TEA's website for teachers. They have a website for parents, but it's a website for teachers. But these are free templates that you can download that are schedules throughout the day. There are first then schedules. There's a mini schedule that you can take with you. There's communication boards that are already pre-made for you. And so it's a really great resource that, yes, it's for teachers, but use them at home. Like, they're using them in the classroom, use them at home. Figure out what you're doing. It's called Texas Fed Support. Not to be confused with Sped Tex, which is the parent site, but Texas Fed Support. I could do a whole session on Texas Fed Support, but it's really cool. You can search by disability, you can search by topic, you can search by resource. It's amazing. But it's all free too. They're all free resources. They have literature books for kids on there that you can download and lessons that will help you teach at home. Anyways, okay, get a little geeked up on that. But so those are some things that you can do. There's a lot of resources on there for that. Like I said, produce your cue cards. Ask your kid's teacher if your student uses a schedule or a visual schedule or any kind of communication device. Ask your kid's teacher, what are they doing? And see if it can be checked out and taken home during the summer, or if they can make you one for use during the summer. Yes, ma'am.
Is that site a .org, a .edu,
Ooh.
You just Google it.
I think if you Google it, it should be the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
I don't know if they paid for it to be that way.
The worst for parents is the first one that comes up.
Okay.
It's spedsupport.tea.texas.gov. It's a dot.
It's long.
Yeah.
I can send it to Amy if she wants to put it on there, or
Yeah.
yeah. But there's lots of free stuff. So yes, I don't know if that answered your question. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Oh, ask your teachers. How many of your kids use a visual schedule at school? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Has your teacher ever sent home what that schedule looks like? Yes. Yeah.
It's a different one at home, but he has to see it.
Yeah, he has to see it.
Even if I change something up in the car, you know what, we're going to HB instead of Walmart, if I write it down,
Yeah.
or you
Change
change
the card.
yeah, he's like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah. So when I was a teacher, there was different things, and it was based on parent, right? Like however that communication was with the parent. I actually went into my students' home and helped put up the schedules for summer. They had a really hard time with hygiene. They had a really hard time with hygiene. We laminated pictures to put inside the shower for him to know, like, okay, first I'm gonna wash my armpits, then I'm gonna wash my privates, then I'm gonna wash this. But like, we laminated the pictures and put them inside his shower. He kept tearing them down, so what we ended up doing was using the rings that you do for the shower curtain, and we poked holes in them and we hung them up. So then whenever he was finished, he slid it over to the side. And when he was finished, he slid, and he loved it. He thought it was the coolest thing because he got to do something. But that's one thing that we did for hygiene. Was
Like,
huh?
when
Yeah.
they go in the washer, and, you know, since COVID, they have the picture, like, every restroom, he loves those.
I guarantee your kid's STEM teacher has access to a laminator. Guaranteed. So, but that's that's a conversation you might want to have with them before summer of, hey, can you help me make this? If there's a social stories book about we're going to HEB instead of to this, talk to them and maybe they can make those for you or help you figure out how to build those, have that communication with your teacher, your kid's teacher. I loved doing that as a teacher because it meant my kids didn't come back to me with those lost skills. So like I was all for it. So have those discussions and see if that's something that can do. What time do we go to?
7:30.
Oh, we're good. We're good. Okay, so these are just like a list of skills to work on. We've kind of talked about what this looks like throughout, about self-awareness, that self-determination. The big thing is giving choices. Giving choices, giving choices. I was in a advocacy skills and speaking up for himself. And the school viewed that as rebellion and as him not fitting into the box. And I remember, and I was listening, and I was just like, it was breaking me because, oh gosh, we worked so hard on getting our kids to speak up for themselves, but because it wasn't into a pretty box, it was considered defiance. Didn't know the whole story, but like the way that she told it, my heart was just like aching inside. And Amy, if she would have heard it, would have like crumbled. But those are things that we want to work on at home, and making sure that, and I'm saying this from like a personal standpoint of making sure that I am not discounting that as a parent. When my child is telling me I am tired. Sometimes doing nothing is the most exhausting thing ever. If I'm in things where I'm just sitting all day, like, don't talk to me. Like, I'm done. Like, that is my sensory overload, just having to sit, and it's too much screen time or too much this. If your child is telling you something, try to listen and see what that sounds like, but honor that. And that's hard as parents to do because we want them to fit in a little box and we want them to be compliant and listen to us, and we know what's best. During the summers, I find that's the hardest with my daughter, is she is very vocal now about what she wants and what she doesn't. We are working on the tone of how she asks that and phrases that, and so that's something that you can work on during the summer is the tone of like, our favorite phrase right now is try that again. Let's try that again. How are we saying that? Okay. So those are things. This summer we already know that we are going to be working on undergarments. She is at the age where bras are going to be a thing, and that's hard. That is I did not know that would be a sensory thing. We have tried 5 different bras. 5. And none of them have underwires. but it is hard for her, and so we know that like that's a skill that we're working on this summer.
Hey, it's hard for all.
It's I know, right? Yes, I could be inappropriate. Yes, it is. It's hard for all of us, but that's just like I'm sitting here like, oh gosh, like now, and then I have my 8-year-old who really wants one, and it's like, oh, what? But those are things that like you have to think about. The hygiene stuff. Like, how can you do that? But at the same time, listening. Why does he not want to do it? Is he just because he's a typical boy who doesn't? I mean, like really, that's a boy thing, right?
Boy, I mean.
Yeah, he's a boy. You know.
Hey, don't start messing with things
Yeah.
at school. You know, we had that discussion.
That's a great skill to work on over the summer. Appropriate places for that. Yeah, appropriate places for exploring things. That's a great summer skill, I think. And it is a very natural skill. That's one that any parent's going to have to deal with, right? She said she's got 12 people. Like, yeah, she feels like y'all can talk. Figure out what each of y'all are doing. But I think that's important, right? And let's not shy away and be afraid of talking about that or working on that with our kids and listening to what they're saying. And so I realized this morning after the battle of the bra, that I have been ordering my daughter bras on Amazon. I've been getting them for her. She has never once gone with me to go get them. And I'm like, God, that's so stupid of me. Like, why have I not thought? Like, let her pick it out. Let her feel it in the store. Let her. And so those are things like I need to give her the choice of what she's wearing. Kind of went on a weird tangent, but okay, let's talk about goal setting. How many of you can make a goal right now? Okay, tell me what your goal is off the top of your head.
Don't yell at my kids when I get home.
Don't yell at your kids when you get home. Okay, what are you going to do to make sure that happens?
I'm gonna wait until they're asleep before I go home.
She's gonna wait till they're asleep. Like, you know what? Me too. My husband was like, "Where are you going?" I told him, he's like, "What are you doing home?" I'm like, I'll be texting the kids are in bed. Great idea. You're paying for the babysitter.
I
So
try to tell mine I need like 10 minutes.
you need 10 minutes.
With Gage, my son is autism, he's 11, and my daughter Lena, she's 8 and she's neurotypical. She's the one that has issues with it, not him. He's like, okay, and she's
Tell me, get
like,
in Alexa. They can change the voices until they find out it can make farting noises. Then it's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother, don't let them figure that out. Okay, but like goal setting. So if I tell my daughter has the hardest time, if I say go clean your room, my 5-year-old will go do it, my 8-year-old will go do it. She goes into her room and she just stands there, it's like paralysis. Totally get that, like, where do I start? And that's a hard thing as a mom, like, I don't want to sit there and tell her, like, first do this, first do this, first, then do this. That's hard. I was on TikTok the other night because I couldn't sleep, and somebody said the funnest way to clean their room, and it went through this process of how she got her kids to do it. She had a dice with colors on it, like that you would use for twister, or spinning dice, right? And she rolled it, and it came up red. She told her daughter, "Go find everything red in your room and put it away." Right. I was like, genius. Like genius. And so it had colors. You could do it with shapes, right? You could have one with triangles on it, or with this. And then, you know what? Their room might not be perfect. Maybe you tell them, I'm going to roll the dice 6 times. Just 6 times. And you roll it. Their room might not be perfect, but it's going to be better than when you started. And so we're going to try that this summer. We're going to make this a game. We might let her roll the dice. She gets to roll it. It's her fault, whatever the color is. But I thought that was a really cool way. Just cleaning. I might use it for my kitchen. I don't know. But that will help with that paralysis of like, I don't even know where to start. She's a collector, and so she collects all the things. Her room is her safe place. So that's something that we're going to try this summer. I don't know if y'all want to try it. We'll check it out and see how it goes. Have a little support group for cleaning rooms. But that's something that you can do that gives them choice, that makes it fun, in theory. But yes. So what tips do you guys have for me? What can I do this summer? Yeah, she's got a tip, and I'm listening. All.
But like, I mean, some big concept, like, what's the whole smart goal and how to be, like, measurable, like, what's the reasonable route science for?
Okay.
And, so like, and even what might even seem reasonable for a 4-year-old, I don't even,
That delay.
there's different effects, like, it's gonna be different than, other 4-year-olds. So they take that into account. What might even be a reasonable goal for any other 4-year-old.
Good, take into consideration. So for those online, he's saying that trying to figure out that balance between, the SMART goals, make it specific, measurable. Gosh, I'm talking to what's A? Attainable. There we go. R. Realistic. T. Timely. There we go. I would quiz y'all. That's what the SMART goal is. Ask me any other time. So, but what does that look like for he's got a 4-year-old, what does that look like for our students who may be a little bit delayed or working on their own level? And so you have to take that into consideration. And so that's kind of where I was thinking, like, I'm expecting my 11-year-old to go clean her room because her 5-year-old brother and her 8-year-old. So maybe that cleaning her room might look different for her. Putting away toys might look different. They might not be neat and orderly. It might just be like they're all in a doom bucket. If you don't know what doom buckets are, don't go down that rabbit hole either. Amy knows what doom buckets are. It's where it's an organization system that individuals who are neurodivergent, it works well for, like baskets. And like my whole life made sense after I heard about doom buckets. I have piles of things, and that's organized to me. And so I think that's the other thing, and it's 4. But figuring out what does clean mean to him? What does the goal, what is finishing, what's something you would want him to do? Pick up his toys at night, okay? So maybe that's like putting him in a corner. Like, what does that look like to him? And then figure out how you can adjust that. Maybe it's just a bucket. Do you have a bucket? We have 10 buckets. Buckets, bins. Yes, Amy.
So there was a question online, and it says, is she saying do it bucket?
Doom, a doom bucket. Like, it's just an endless pile of doom, of laundry, or like I saw somebody who switched from drawers to baskets. I'm just like, they don't fold their kids' clothes and just put them in the basket. That's the stuff. It's doom.
I didn't know that's what it was called, but I have.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
we have-
Doom,
we all have them.
D-O-O-M.
Our kids have, my daughter's bed is her doom place, like all the things.
I feel like when we're teaching our kids to set goals, it should be a SMART goal.
What is a
because it should-
SMART?
Because there should be a visual element that helps them track their progress. Especially when we're working with kids that have maybe divergent abilities from their age group. So they can work and see that they're progressing. Like one year, first summer, when my kids were still little and cute, we did like, we graphed how many, like how, I think it was, we graphed how many minutes it took them to pick up all their trains, because it was Thomas the Engine everywhere, and those things hurt so much. So, if you step on them. But, so we graphed it, and they got faster.
Okay, you did a little task analysis and some job stuff there,
So,
alright.
but something like that, or like maybe it's, okay, I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes, how many of the toys in the living room can you pick up, and you count them for them, or you drop something, like you drop a penny in a jar, and it makes a noise, so there's a reward that's sensory, something that's motivating.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You were saying that, and I started thinking, like, so my son, the best way to, and I say it's manipulating him. It's manipulating him to do something is asking him, can you help me take this to the trash can? And I give it to him. He thinks that's the coolest thing in the world. I don't know when that's going to end. It will end soon, I'm sure. But if I give him a task, he wants a job. He just wants to do something. But he thinks he's like tough stuff if he gets to do this thing that Mama asked him to do. He thinks that's the best idea. When I started working from home, one of the things that I just like decided I was going to do was have a house cleaner come 2 times a month. She came today. I remembered to go and take, and I think it's because I was prepping for this. I took pictures of my daughter's room. So the cleaner came today. Is it perfect? No. But it's clean and it's organized. I took a picture of it so that I can print it off and say, like, this is your end goal. I don't know how you're going to get there, but let's look at, this is what it looks like to be clean. And she's so excited. She loves it being clean. She just doesn't know how to get it that way. But then taking, like, steps to that. What does that look like to get there? I need to do that with my kitchen for myself. But that's, yes.
I know for my kids, my younger ones too, is playing a song or finding like a theme song that they did, because once they're watching it, it's kids love screen time. They're watching it, and what I'm also doing and showing them how to do it, like we all kind of collectively do it together. And so every day for
Yep.
like probably 2
Which Taylor
years,
Swift song is going to be today.
he would start to gather it, like, this is what we're doing.
Okay, so using a song as your timer, like, okay, we're gonna do it this. They have a brush your teeth song. If you haven't heard the brush your teeth. Okay, they have a brush your teeth song that Alexa plays in our house. That's a great motivator for our kids and make sure that they brush it. It's just called the brush your teeth song. And so that's something that worked for a little bit in my house. Now they just randomly ask her to play it, and it's the bane of my existence. But that's besides the point. But it works for younger kids. It might work for older kids for hygiene. I still really think you should try the shower thing. I think you might do good with that. I don't know if I answered any of your questions, sir.
Now you said like with scheduling activities, for the summer, keep loose schedule, I think you kind of want to do it like that. But also, not just collective activities, we have 2 young kids, but also individual activities. A lot of times, my son, my daughter's trying to get our physio, we would think he get it, but we all say lots of things that we can allow him to do. It might not make sense like that, don't seem fair, but it is fair because
to look at it and I'll say, what is fair? We have a saying in our house, because that has come up multiple times, where my daughter's expectations are different than my other children's, just because that's the nature of it, is fair does not mean the same. Fair does not mean the same. So we say that, and they know that phrase now, fair does not mean the same. And so fair, because they're like, that's not fair, like, I swear, that's not fair, that's not fair. It's fair does not mean the same. So that looks different for Nolan than it does for David, than it does for Peyton. Because they're individuals, right? And so, I think that has always been an understood thing. I think even with families without kids with disabilities, my older sister got away with a lot more than I got away with, because she was the older sister and they hadn't figured out my parents hadn't figured out the tricks yet. She tells me things that she did, and I'm like, how did you get away with that?
We need to talk about it. I want to hear
Okay,
about it.
yeah, actually, we will, yeah. But my younger brother, dude, he can do no wrong. Like, he can do, he's 37, and I love him to death, but can do no wrong. So I think even in families without the dynamics that we have, that's a staple, right? No kid is treated the same. Girls are treated different than their brothers, and things like that. And so I think we as parents have to make sure that we're not oversensitive to it, because we have a child with a disability. You're not going to treat kids the same no matter what.
But you know, still with that teacher from school, you go up and say something, so you can't do that. And I know sometimes the results can be nice.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
There's hard lines.
Yeah, you gotta have hard lines.
You say that there are some things that, like, just like, you can't go up and touch somebody or take somebody's phone out of their pocket that you don't know. But there's hard line. I'm trying to keep the people on the video.
Thank you.
Okay, so just some different things with decision making, and I'm going to show you in 3 slides a really cool document that Blood, Sweat, and Tears was put into, and I have no idea who created it or who helped to make it, but it's a really cool document. So some of the basics of decision making, making sure that you have choices between items. We talked about this, or Amy talked about it, with clothing. Giving the option of 2 clothes that you would like them to wear to church instead of the Halloween leggings. My daughter wore Halloween leggings today, but it was star testing and I was not about to fight any of that yesterday. But like giving them choices of things that you would be okay with, letting that be the choice. Having preferred toys, whether that's through eye gaze or gesture or a Big Mac speaking button or an AT device. I'll go on to my teacher hat. As a teacher, what was really hard for me is whenever we worked with a student to use an AT device or a device that allowed a student to verbalize what they were wanting, and it got turned off at home. I understand why, especially now. I didn't then, but sometimes it's just like that. But keeping the voice or keeping a voice for your child is really important. And making that consistent, whether that be what they're using at school, making sure that you're using it at home, but not forgetting about that during the summer. I know that there's that, well, I know what they're saying, right? As a parent, like, you're like, I know what they're saying. But you don't want them to regress on the skill that's been taught, because not everybody else knows what they're saying, and so helping them to maybe keep that consistency, whatever that looks like. And see self-management and awareness, so expressing their likes and dislikes. That could be through food, that could be the activity that they're doing. Sometimes whenever we do new activities, my 5-year-old is, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to, and it's like we have to try it once, and then you can say, most of the time he ends up liking it, and he just doesn't want to do it because his sister picked it, but he has to try it. We don't do that with foods, because I won't try foods. But if it looks weird to me, like I don't make my kids try foods, I just don't. If you do in your house, that's cool. I just know that I don't want to be made to try a beet. Just because. Right? If you just saw it, like you're not gonna, like, feel about beets, my kid feels about green beans, and I'm not gonna make them eat a green bean, because I would never eat a beet just on principle. That's just my thing, whatever, sorry. Okay, so goal setting we talked about, I do want to get to some of these skills. So for elementary students or our younger students, some of the decision-making things, like identifying if it's safe or unsafe. That's a really great decision-making, and that you want to help support them in doing, especially on that first one. Demonstrating a sense of self and showing empathy. We have to work on that with my 5-year-old, of that empathy piece. It's like, it's just not there yet, and that's okay, but we're working on it. We're working through that, and him understanding that what he just did hurt somebody's feelings, or what he just said, or putting your hands on somebody isn't nice. Making choices and decisions about relating to safety. Again, for elementary, you really want to hone in on like what's safe, what's not safe. Is that a safe person? Who can I go to if something's in trouble? So self-management, engaging in calming strategies. This one is a fun one for me because what calms my daughter down, I would have never, ever picked. The new thing is her getting her hair brushed. And I say that because she doesn't like being touched. But every single night, it has become a routine. And my husband calls it stalling. I call it showing love. Whatever. It's always at bedtime. She comes and she wants to frog me. Like, I'll be laying in my bed. She wants to frog on me and she wants me to scratch her back. And for me as a mom, and I say it's never something because she's not a hugger. And so I'm like, I'm taking that with everything I have. She wants her hair every night. Mom, will you brush my hair? Mom, will you brush it? She hates it being brushed in the morning. She loves it being brushed at night. Again, stalling, love, whatever. I'm going to take it as her mama. But those are things. So understanding what is calming to your child, not, okay, take 5 breaths. That might not be calming for your kid. That might just be annoying. If I hear my husband take 5 breaths, that's annoying to me. It's annoying. Look, she's like, see, I told you, it's not just me, I'm not breathing. But like figuring out what does that look like for them. Is it, stretching? Is it doing yoga? Is it going and my calming, walking barefoot outside? Okay, some people call it grounding. The fact that I have shoes on right now and jeans is like a miracle because I work from home. But I will walk to the bus stop, and I'm sure that people look at me like I'm crazy. It's just on the street, barefoot. I love feeling the ground on my feet, especially after a long sheet. Her face is like, oh my gosh, and then you go in your house. But I love it. I love walking on grass. I love that feeling. My daughter hates it. So everybody has different calming measures, and so maybe having that conversation with your kiddo, trying different things out. What does that look like? Identifying and showing awareness of things that they're struggling for. It's hard as a parent, especially with summer, to watch your kids struggle. Because number one, you could do it faster, and we want to do it faster, or you could do it your way. Loading the dishwasher and laundry is a big thing in my house. My husband does the dishes and he does the laundry, and he has done it for 15 years. And here's why: because he got on to me for how I put clothes in the laundry, because I put it too full. And so for 15 years now, because he didn't like the way I did laundry, he does the laundry. Because I'm not going to have him tell me that my way was wrong when I did it for 20 years. But I say that because my daughter, if I ask her to load the dishwasher, she is going to fit half the amount of things that I could fit in it if I were to do it. Okay? One of the worst things that we can do as a parent after our kid has done something is to go and redo it. Mm-hmm. And especially if they see us do it, because then that's oh my gosh, like they are so proud of the work that they just did, and I have done this like 50 times, right? I have to catch myself. Letting them do it, even if it's not to our standards, we can gradually teach what that looks like. But if they look the dishwasher like, yes, they did it, right? It might not have been how we did it, but don't let that kind of get in the way. So letting them learn those things. Letting them learn that it's okay to fall on your bike. Letting them know that it's okay to lose at a game. We have to work on that skill, so we're working on cooperative games. But those are things that you allow them to fail. And what better time to do that than summer? It's really hard. It's hard, but it's something we have to do for our kids. We do it for our other kids, we gotta let them do it for this. Okay, so, upper grades, decision making, so picking what club or sport that they wanna go and do, picking what activity that they're in. Go to college days if you have an older kiddo. They're never too young to go visit college campuses. We have 2 in town. We have Brynn, we have A&M. Take them, let them see what that looks like, let them get the feeling. If you haven't been to A&M lately, like, you're missing out. That, like, I was really upset about what they did to Spence Park because I was at the core and I have lots of tears in Spence Park, and they made it so beautiful. They made it so beautiful. Now there is a lake, there is things that you can sit on. I'm still getting used to it, but it's a really fun place. It's a fun place to take your kids and just go. You can fish, you can do all the things, and I love that noise. I love that sound. It's okay, so decision making. Self-awareness, taking their medication. Please practice having your kids take their medication. What does that look like? How many ibuprofen can you take if you're hurt? Or how many milligrams can you fill a syringe with? What color is your medicine? What does that look like? It is never too early to start working on those things either. Please start working on that. Start working on what the names are, if you can. Not, oh, it's the pink pill. If they're younger, that's okay, but like if we're in upper grades now, start working on what that name looks like, these self-help skills. That if they were to get into trouble, or if something were to happen, they need to be able to tell somebody, I take this kind of medicine. The ER doctor is not going to know what the pink pill is. And so really trying to help with that. Managing and following a schedule, controlling their emotions, what does that look like? We're hitting into that with my 11-year-old too, super fun. Setting goals, all the things I do. We have 5 minutes. This sheet is on that Texas Sped Support website that I was talking about. You can also click on this image and it will take you right there. This goes from birth all the way to 18 plus. You can look if your kiddo, if I have a 10-year-old and I'm like, I need to go to the 5-year-old thing, that's okay, right? None of these skills are not going to be good. You can use it as a checklist. It is also in a fun little map way that if you wanted to, you could work with your kid on checking off and making it to the end. I just thought of that as we were talking. I was like, oh, look, there's arrows. That could be a fun thing. There are boxes that you can mark completed, in progress, or not needed. Like, hey, my kid already knows I do that. We don't need to work on that skill. But it's a really fun document. It works on choice-making skills, goal setting, self-management, and self-determination and self-advocacy. On the back side of the front of the page, on the back side, it gives things for parents to do. So like getting on Medicaid waiver lists, contacting your local Center for Independent Living. Depending on the age, they are all individualized on, hey, if your kid's this old, maybe you should look at doing these things. There is also a fun little purple box on the back side that tells you, here are some things that we're giving you, like these are tasks for your kids to do. The back side is going to give you activities that you can do that will promote those tasks. So if you're like, I don't even know where to start. Again, it's an amazing document. Please use it. It was 2 years in the making. So it's lovely. Y'all been so fun. I love that y'all have talked with me this entire time, and I have 4 minutes to spare. Amy, I don't know if you have anything that you need to close out with, or does anybody else have anything that they want to say?
I just want to remind everyone that the handouts are available on the CDD website. So that's just cdd.tamu.edu, and you can download them and have all the links that she mentioned.
It is a clickable document. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Okay, thank you.